Hi, and welcome to Yeti at Large. This is a channel focused on making the most out of what you have, no matter where you're at. Thanks for tuning in and helping out.
Hi, thanks for coming along today. We're going to attack Mount Elden right there. A couple weeks ago, we proved the GX3's raw horsepower on the steepest paved road we could find in the southwestern United States. Today, we're going to take a shot and see how its endurance handles a 7+ mile, 6% incline with 2,200 feet of climbing on a dirt road to get up to those towers. Come along, let's get ready. Because of the length of the ride, we're going to break it up into a few chunks, but we're going to do our best to get to the top of that hill right in front of us. The ride into the dirt road involves going through a neighborhood a little over a mile. Let's skip ahead to where the road turns to dirt. So yes, we're out here having a lot of fun, but we really want to make sure we're following the rules of the road and the proper etiquette. This is a Forest Service road, and in recent years it's been subject to wildfires and flooding, which means there are closures. Furthermore, there are restrictions on trail use. Some trails are only intended for bicycles, equine, or hikers. This road here has been in a state of flux for many years, and there's restrictions that are afoot that we need to be aware of, albeit they can be very difficult to understand. Let's skip ahead to the next gate and talk more in detail about that. As you see, we're climbing the hill here. There's a parking lot where cars park for a lot of the mountain bikers to ride the trails. And then there's a gate across the road. Now, access is on the side of the gate for those bicycles, equestrian traffic, and hikers. No large motorized vehicles are permitted past this point for a lot of reasons. One, erosion, and two, what the intended use of the road is. Now, I've been mountain biking up here since 1989. I've ridden this road maybe 400 times. I've patrolled it, and I've done search and rescue missions. I've done trail building and litter cleanup. So this area means a lot to me. And when trying to discover what the appropriate use of the road is, I called the Forest Service office, but they were closed for the government shutdown. I checked their postings on the website. They haven't been updated since 2023. A lot of old, outdated information. So I did some research into the laws and regulations. I looked up CFR Title 36, Part 212.52 and .55 under Section B and C. And it talks about the design of the road, the intended use, the multi-use factors, and the historical uses for the road. That's Brookbank Trail right there to the left. Just amazing. So anyway, what I gathered was, I'm on an electric scooter. Now, when they say motorized vehicle, they mean any vehicle that moves under its own power. However, there were no signs or any indication at the trailhead or the gate what this road was intended to be used. Naturally, the bicycles and the horses and the hikers can have access to the road, but I felt like I was in a bit of a gray zone. Speaking of that trail etiquette, I always let people know I'm coming up behind them. I wish them well. I've been in that saddle of that bicycle, and I'm thrilled that everyone's out having a good time on the hill. Everybody was great. Regardless, there are electric bicycles that fall in that gray zone, just like this electric scooter. Now, I believe in reading those CFR statutes that no motorized vehicles with internal combustion are permitted, or vehicles that must be registered on the road, meaning insurance, license, and registration, because you need that to drive on a dirt road in the forest. Even though it may not seem like it, that is a legal requirement. So, in interpreting the fact that I'm very quiet, I'm electrically powered, I'm very low horsepower, and I'm not taking my scooter off of this dirt road onto the trails. I believe that would be prohibited based on the intended use of the trail. Furthermore, I don't think the scooter would do a very good job on some of this single track. So, I came to the conclusion that since I have to follow the rules of a bicycle on the road, that I'm entitled to some of those privileges. So, I stayed on the dirt road portion on the scooter. Nobody had a problem with that, and I did my due diligence in trying to make sure that I'm following the intended use of the road and the regulation. I am certain that the Forest Service is going to have to evolve their approach to electric vehicles tremendously in the next coming years. Technology is going to continue to evolve at an alarming rate. These vehicles will become far more powerful, have longer range, and be much, much lighter, meaning they could find a home on the trails and enjoy riding those single tracks if they're allowed. Regardless, we're getting close to the top. So let's enjoy the ride for a bit, and let's talk about that last little section, because it gets steep. At this point, we're on the saddle, near the top, but we're gonna dive down and then do the steep climb to those towers up ahead. We started the ride with 58 volts showing on the charge. At this point, I'm showing 48, but these batteries tend to recover a little bit if they have a couple of minutes. We've averaged 15 to 20 miles an hour uphill, which is very impressive. Don't want to go any faster because I'm trying to conserve battery, and I don't want to go any slower because it's a natural flow. Things are about to get technical, so let's skip ahead to that last little climb up there and see if we can pull it off. No lo puedo creer. It did it. That's plus 7 miles. That's over 2,200 feet of climbing. Maximum grade of about 11%. This last section's super technical. Pretty impressive. The Gotrax GX3. Let me catch my breath and we'll take a panoramic. We're looking due east from Mount Elden Lookout Road. 9,700 feet in elevation. Sunset Crater, Upaki National Monument. New Mexico's out there somewhere. Turning south, you're going to see a fuel reduction event. A prescribed burn, control burn they used to call them. That's necessary for the health of the forest, and they've done a great job recently of correcting some of the mismanagement issues of the last century and a half. Here is East Flagstaff looking south. Sedona, the Red Rocks Canyon out there. Turning more west, we see the rest of Flagstaff, Pulliam Airport. Looking due west, Williams, Arizona's out there. There is Kendrick Mountain. More radio towers. The Grand Canyon is off in the distance that way. And then looking due north is more radio, satellite, and telecommunications equipment than ET ever needed to phone home. When I first started coming up here in the 80s, there was a lookout shack and a couple of antennas for the TV station. But that's enough of sightseeing and hanging out at top. Let's work our way back down the hill. We'll kind of hop, skip, and jump all the way down so you guys get a little bit of view of how beautiful this mountain area is. Interestingly enough, the trip down is going to take just about as long as the trip up. The reason being is these are 12-inch wheels, and this surface, I like to call it dust on crust, meaning it's super slick. And the scooter weighs 100 pounds, I weigh 250 pounds, and I'm carrying 30 plus pounds of gear. So if I get hustling down this hill faster than 15 or 20, I could really go into a slide and eat it hard. And that's just not an option these days. I watched the battery. It nearly didn't use a single volt from top all the way down to the bottom, which was cool. But we really enjoyed the ride. There were a lot of great people out having a good time. And this is something I highly recommend. Go out and do that forest bathing, as people call it. Or as the Japanese would call it, Shinrin Yoku, meaning just being outdoors, being quiet, being observant. This is really peaceful stuff. Let's just enjoy the ride for a bit. I love the way the light filters through the trees when you're riding. This is good thinking time. It's kind of funny when I see these guys on the side of the trail. I told these dudes to ride a wheelie. He looked at me and said, "Silly rabbit, tricks are for kids." I tried it again on the next mountain biker, and he rode a wheelie proper like. So here we are at the upper gate again. All is well. We're about done with this ride, so we're going to focus on being safe. But as soon as I hit this pavement section, I sped up from the 15 to 20 that I was doing and topped the Gotrax out at 38.6 miles an hour. And yes, I'm speeding up the film a bit just to get the ride done. But we're almost there, and I'll give you the tail of the tape in just a moment. And that tops it off. We're showing 48 volts at the bottom. The battery will probably recover 1 or 2 to 50 volts. 7.5 miles down, and that was an incredible ride. Thank you so much for tuning in. Join us next time when we tackle something even tougher for the Gotrax GX3. And please, leave your suggestions and recommendations down below. Except for that one guy that keeps telling me to ride it off a cliff. Yeti at large. Just a little side note, it feels like cheating that I can plug the charging port into the truck and charge the scooter while I ride home from an epic ride. That's a luxury.